Caitlin Clark looking like she's bulked up has become a viral thing. And look, it was no secret though. Whether you see, if she looks like she's put on some muscle, Stephanie White, the head coach of the Fever, had already said Clark has gotten stronger. So there's the wow aspect of it, but there's also the practical aspect of it. Clark was already a lot stronger than she was given credit for. At least when it comes to finishing around the rim, she was one of the elite finishers in the league in her rookie season in the WNBA. She got to the basket, she converted at a good rate. But when you look at the Fever, they got thrown around a bit. Clark got thrown around a little bit. Now she, can get a little bigger, another year in the league, and say, you ain't messing with me, right? And make that physically clear on the court. Not to mention the rest of the players that the Fever brought in. And I think that's been understated a little bit. The toughness that they added. You're going to want to mess with DeWanna Bonner, who's been around the block, or Natasha Howard, same thing. Sophie Cunningham ain't ducking any smoke. Sydney Colson has been in those championship situations. So there's a lot of players that came over who bring that expertise and who bring that toughness factor. Because you could look at the Fever last year and maybe say that is a way teams could get in their head, is to try and punk them a little bit. Heck, the Connecticut Sun were able to beat them by mucking the game up. Now, the Fever and Caitlin Clark ain't going to be pushed around. So I think that was the biggest takeaway, or is the biggest actual, other than, funny memes and everything else that went with the viral Caitlin Clark photo taken by Bree Lurke. And that's how I knew it was real, because Bree took it. A lot of people were asking if it was fake, given how impressive it looks. You could see some of the definition there as she's cheering on. In this one, that second bicep is behind the first one, so it almost makes the first one look like it's both of them. But regardless, I think there's a pretty apparent physical difference there from Clark in how she's bulked up and how she's put on a little size and how she's, approaching the offseason. We've seen all the work in the lab, right? I guess we haven't seen the work in the gym. A little bit of a difference. And not to just go all in one direction, because you also have to be careful. And I'm sure the training staff knows all this. There's a balance there when you're lifting weight, because you want to make sure the mechanics of the shot don't change, and nothing gets thrown off from the skill abilities, right? Like, you just want to enhance and emphasize and build on all those things. But I mean, it's only natural that a player would get better from season 1 to season 2. It's only natural that a player would continue to grow and mature when they're as young as Clark still is. And we sort of forget about that. But when you go back to last season, there were so many instances where either she was winding up on the floor, or you thought that the other team was thinking, all right, we're going to physically push the Fever around. No one's going to step up and have her back. So now she's making it so, you got to think twice about going at her physically. And 2, she's got other players who will step up in that event, because it's still going to be a defensive strategy. It's been a defensive strategy since the beginning of time for a star player to push them around a little bit, try and get in their head, throw them off their game a little bit with physicality. I mean, that's not a secret recipe or a new strategy in basketball. But, it appears when you factor in free agency and when you factor in the work that the Caitlin Clark is putting in, the Fever are about to flex on the rest of the WNBA.